Hello, everybody. So, today we are back on another edition of Industry Talks in our Change Leader community. The community was built with the intent that the practitioners get a platform where they can discuss about change management and share their best practices. Last month, we saw few practitioners engaging with us as to how they are using change management and experts speaking to us on the trends of change management. This nuggets, which we are hereby now want to broadcast to you, would be more dwelling on how enterprises are using change management, how they are deriving value from change management, be it in forming their own change management offices to take transformation on or building and intensifying the change management practice. Today we have Raveena with us. Raveena from Bristlecone. Bristlecone is a very is a consult is doing their consulting in the niche supply chain area, and they have been a foremost player in that segment. And Raveena, with her 12 years of experience in talent management, performance management, change management, and managing the entire life cycle of employees in a supply chain context, is the practice lead there. So today we shall hear from her as to how she is using change management in her practice. So welcome to Raveena. Hi, Raveena.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Sudeshna, for your warm welcome. It's a pleasure to be speaking about something that we share as an equal passion, which is change management, as you rightly called out, that I work with Bristlecone. I have practically lived all my life in this company and learned a lot about the domain, which is supply chain. And in my most recent role, I now head the change management practice out of North American region. I'm currently based out of San Diego, and I'm responsible for growing business and also leading projects out here. But again, once again, thank you for having me here, and I'm looking forward for our conversation, Sudeshna.
Welcome, Raveena. So before getting into as to how you use it, so first, what we are hearing now is kind of we were doing change and now we are doing transformation. We have, I won't say slowly, but quickly jumped into transformation. So how have you seen this evolve? How have you seen, transformations taking shape around you?
Yeah. Yeah, I'll take a step back to that question and probably tweak that into a question form again. When you started off, into change management or HR for that matter, this is where we were born out of, right? Change management is a discipline, is a practice, came from HR. Similar to that, I also came from HR when I started off at Bristlecone. When I look back at my journey or the concept of change, it obviously takes me back to those days where change management was all about sitting in the office for HR, talking about different changes the companies is going on. How do we handle employee relations? How do we handle different diverse programs? Performance management for that matter. When I started on building change management at Bristlecone, I slowly and steadily saw this, that the east side of the world takes change management as a hey, good to have but not must to have sort of factor, right? For about 5 years, I saw this, that change management or anything related to change was centric around training. Anything that my fellow change practitioners would agree with me throughout the world, that change management still resonates to thousands of people only talking about training. But in my view, it has so much to do with more than that, than just training. And this is where you can say the world suddenly started talking about transformations when the concept when COVID came in. In my view, when COVID came into our lives, everybody wanted change. And that's what tickled the way to transformations. And anybody today, in today's scenario, you talk about change and they associate that to a transformation. When I just look at the small list of changes, which is a leadership change or anything talking in a company right now, they associate that with the transformation. So I think there is deeper understanding about the discipline of change, but it's more magnanimous. It is definitely more huge for organizations to now start investing into change, and in which my view has given a good pavement for transformations to happen, Sudeshna.
Okay. Yeah. So I think you've gone into explaining as to the need for change management. And as you were saying, so as you rightly started with that, it was at one point of time very much restricted to training. So how do you think, why do we need change management more now?
Yes. So let me ask you that question. Why do you think change is more needed in today's time than it was needed 5 years ago? What would be your change since you're training millions of people on change management? Why do you think it is required for you to train people to drive change?
Okay, so we are seeing changes becoming very complex. I mean, change by
Right.
itself, it used to be a change somebody's doing at one corner and the rest of the organization, something was happening. But now everybody in the organization have to do something differently. So we are seeing employees at a large scale getting impacted. The enterprise is getting impacted. It is complex. It is very fast. Many changes are happening. It is not just one by one we are able to stack it well, but it is many changes are also happening. And uh, and yeah, the impact we are feeling is much more, or what a person can has to do differently has changed also quite a bit, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you. And in my preview, Sudheshna, there are two types of changes at the cloud level. One is what the organization goes through. One is what the employee goes through. The organization is looking at the continuous improvement, which is what is going to bring them the efficiency, whereas the employee is looking at change as a journey, and which is more important. I don't think so. People are aversive towards change. People are aversive towards sudden change. And that's why we need
Hmm.
change management. Nobody in this world understands this concept right now that there are more changes coming in for organizations than it was before because everybody wants to have improvements. I, as an organizational leader, want to make changes every day to bring in the efficiency, to make sure that my people are doing the right things, and for that I'm not giving time for my people to adopt to change. So that's why we need change practitioners, especially those people who make that journey better for them, a journey which is smoother for them. And statistics have proven that if you bring in that sort of environment for people wherein you're respected, wherein there is good amount of opinion being heard, you've given them the time to scale, you've given them the accountability, their productivity levels are higher. So this means that while I have to accomplish my organizational goals, I have to also make sure that my employee goals are met through. So that, in my view, is the biggest win of change management, and that's why we need change management in today's time, Sudhishna.
Mhm. And we both felt that the changes which are happening are also touching a lot more people. So when we see
Right.
of scale, so how does change management help in scale? I mean, in terms of when you are doing, when it is affecting, say, nowadays changes are not only have affecting one entity in one place, it is affecting multiple entities across multiple geographies. So
Right.
there, do you think change management plays an important role?
Change management now doesn't just affect larger organizations, Sudhesna. It was a passe for bigger organizations to invest into a center like this, but based on what Prosy has just released in their latest benchmarking report, that now more and more companies want to invest into a role like a chief transformation officer. This is where change management sits. It just
Mhm.
that larger organizations have the dollar value to spend, but the smaller companies also are emphasizing. So, to break down your question into different parts, in my view, culturally, geographically, employee strength wise, scale wise, any change area wise, there is a need for change management to interject. And for that reason, companies are right now investing into internal transformations and external transformations. Of course, internal transformations being more heavily dependable on making sure that the employees are well versed with the changes to serve your external customers. Say, for example, you and I are working on 10 projects, but we are going through a heavy shift in our organization. Do you think I would have the right productivity to serve to my customers if I am not well adjusted to my internal being? There is a big saying, right? That to make your core stronger, you have to work harder towards it, right? So if your internal transformations are well fit, so your external transformations are also well served. So, in my preview, companies in general pay a very, very heavy lifting on change management. One of the key learnings that I've had in last 1 year, is this that right now the most amount of companies want to invest on building into their efficiencies and processes with an emphasis on how quickly their people will adopt to a system. So this means that their ROI to investment on any dollar is directly linked to how quickly my system will stabilize. Gone are
Yes,
those days where one system was supposed to act like the government of a country that I'll give it 5 years to stabilize. Now, leaders, now you and I want to see the results in less than 18
instant.
months.
Yes,
So for that reason, you cannot put the heavy weight on the employees to adapt to it. You cannot make their journey, hey, the change is coming. Hey, change is already here. So for that reason, I feel that that the western side of the world reacts to change differently than the eastern side. But thanks to the discipline investment that leaders today are realizing that they take cultural investment as their biggest investment because that's the hardest part to achieve. You cannot make the baseline of your house so strong by putting more bricks. You have to make the foundation stronger, right? And for that reason, cultural transformation is the biggest concern, but also the biggest strength for leaders today, Sudeshna.
so I feel like sometimes, for the employees, when so many changes are getting thrown to them and they understand that the company has to be competitive, stay competitive. It's a
Yeah.
tough market. They understand all, but do you think sometimes it's too much on them and it's not always that they are resisting? It's too much of anxiety playing a role with them.
Yes. So let me break down this into two parts. Logically, the world is going to see more and more changes to come because emerging technologies are coming and will override more technologies. This means that the worlds of SAP or Oracle will obviously bring in more products to make sure that employees have to adapt to a change. Now, emotionally, as you said, that how will this drive? There will be fear, there will be anxiety. But as I said, people don't fear anything that comes as a change. They fear anything which comes too sudden. Let's take an example of you and I sitting in this room. 1 minute ago, if I was to tell you this, that, hey, Sudhesh, now we have a meeting with the CEO, how would you feel? You would feel uncomfortable. At the same moment, but if I was to tell you this, that we have a meeting with the CEO in 1 week, that would give you some discomfort, right? So
So the
from this
preparedness, you're saying, the
Exactly.
making them
The preparedness, the awareness about why is it meeting? Why would you need to do something? What's the goal of that meeting? What are the outcomes that we need to achieve? That, in my preview, is not something that you can onboard employees in 1 day or 2 days or in 1 month. That's a trajectory that you have to build. So that's why in my preview, any change that comes at the employee level, and when I say employee level, this means that it trickles down from the top to the bottom, has a both logical and an emotional viewpoint to it, Sudeshna.
Mhm. I completely get what you're trying to say. And I think we are in a phase where technology changes are hitting, like, it is one by one. It is no longer like, as you said, that one ERP will stabilize over time and
Yeah.
people would be giving, it's like something else is coming in another part of the same process. So, and what is needed and has to be implemented that time. So, in technology changes, do you see change management playing same role or in a different way we use change management?
Yes, in my preview, the bigger horizontal view of change comes at the cultural level, then comes at the process, and then the deepest change comes at the technological view. What is the KPI of a current leader to bring in the efficiency, to have more savings, to make sure that the workload of their people is rightly used? For that, for all these three KPIs of a leader, they will have to heavily invest into technology, which automatically means that more and more technologies will come in to bring in process efficiencies for different employees, right? Gone are those days where I was filling an Excel sheet for my performance management. Now there is a tool, there is a specific area meant for compliance for us to build in the right system, which means that change management is the most heaviest component right now for technological change. Which now brings me to the core deep area of change management being technology. As a company, as a leader, right now I do my maximum projects, I get the maximum business. I also do the most amount of heavy lifting in technological change, which means that in supply chain industry, this is the most heaviest area wherein we expect and we want employees to bring in efficiency. So to manage that change as a practitioner, how differently now I need to do it? I would have to first of all understand the nature of change. I cannot talk the language of change without knowing the nature of change. First is that, then making sure that how people are prepared for that change and that consistent journey of any implementation cycle, right? Everybody in the world of technology understands that there is a project launch and there is a project go live, and in between there are a bunch of people making sure that there is a system which gets developed, but nobody talks about how that got developed, what is the design, what training is imparted, and how we go live. So, in my preview, that's why technological change requires to be trickled down at the employee level. And for that matter, it doesn't stop just that, hey, you got the right training or not? Did you get the right message? But it trickles down to the effect that you should know what are the benefits. How does my day in a life look like? What will be my to be roles and responsibilities? How will I use the system after go live? And the most important thing as a leader that I would be highly wanting to know is that how will I onboard my new users after go live? And for that reason, change management manages all of these tick boxes. One of the key learnings, Sudheshna, that I have seen out of technological projects is this: that how quickly you adopt people to your system after the go live is the true essence of it. And by when I say adoption, I don't mean by how many people actually logged on to the system. I'm actually talking about this, that when did they start using the system? When did they starting using the features of the system?
Yeah,
And was it
proficiency.
giving me and is it giving me my business benefits that I had envisioned at the beginning of the project or not? So I'm putting myself into the shoes of a leader versus a practitioner, and if both the goals were met, that is what is the true success of change management in technological aspects, Sudheshna.
Absolutely. And I feel in technologies change, especially, letting it go to see that, oh, so many users have come in is kind of made, again, like, get into that rubber band effect, right? So we have to make sure that they are getting good at it. They have to get good and are able to somewhere get that proficiency in the system, that is the system they are going to use, rather than have those workarounds.
Yeah, yeah, sure, Sudheshna.
Uh, Being in supply chain specifically, in supply chain, what are the challenges you see usually, and around change management, how are you are able to kind of address them as well?
Yeah. So let me go back to history of supply chain. This is one of the favorite topics that I often tell this to even people who come and join my team. In the era of 1990s, when supply chain was only recognized by the concept of liberalization, privatization, and modernization, that's where we first saw that how the working style of supply chain would come. The world of e-commerce, mobile phones, and computers came in. That brought in some amount of efficiency. Then a decade later, we saw how logistics played a very big role, how new companies had come in, the DHLs, the different companies who came in and brought everything at your doorstep. Then a decade more later, we saw this, that how everything that you ordered on your mobile phone reached your door. And now we are talking about a day where now digital currency has come in and made everything possible for you to buy at the tip of few seconds, and it's delivered at your 5 minute sort of notice at your house, right? That supply chain for a consumer. In the background, if you see, supply chain has grown to a tremendous factor, and the biggest high fall and the downfall that they saw was during COVID, because some products and some areas of supply chain became so fragile and some areas grew exponentially, right? In my preview, supply chain as a domain is exhaustive, is the backbone of any company, and it is definitely a key enabler for a true success of your company. Now, how change management fits into it? Change management for supply chain starts from something which talks about planning. Then we make sure that you know how procurement, then warehousing, logistics, how it reaches to your consumer at the end of the day. And to decouple that with change management is a very exciting subject in my preview. Why? Because you're not just understanding the behavior of a user, but you're also understanding how the supply chain for different industries and different domains work, right? The supply chain for a dairy company is going to be very
Very
different than
different.
what it would be for a medical company versus a semiconductor company. So, supply chain in general and technological changes previewed by them are very different. At Bristlecone, we have industry experts and we also have practitioners who only deal with supply chain change management areas by the different industries. We practice at that level wherein all my practitioners make sure that we bring in not just domain knowledge but also how we do it with specific industries. And in my view, that's a true key giving aspect that we currently serve to our customers, Sudeshna. To break down further, one of the key learnings out of supply chain that I have had is this, that the scale of supply chain almost impacts everybody because you're an internal buyer and you're serving to the external buyers, right? You're ordering a laptop for
Yes.
yourself, that's why you're an internal buyer. But at the same time, you're also buying for the company, and then the company is selling outside of that preview. So for that reason, in my preview, to implement changes which are technological, cultural, process driven for them is a highly challenging job for anything. And in today's time, at least for at Bristlecone, we decouple change management with supply chain and project management solutions, making sure that we don't sit as an outside domain or a room full of people who are talking about change. We actually combine our methodology and our framework with them, talk about change at the ground level, that what would you do at the shop floor, what would you do at a factory planning level, what would you do at a buyer level, what would you do at a warehouse level. So those are the challenges but also the exciting aspect of change management for supply chain industry, Sudeshna.
Okay, cool. I think, like, as you said, supply chain cuts across, meaning the whole organization, and how it shapes up also determines how the organization or the enterprise also stays competitive henceforth, and there they get those advantages. So I think manufacturing, retail, all of the for them, I think it is very visible how important their supply chain is. But for some, it is very invisible. But still, I think it plays that role. And as you said, that when you are, like, providing a service to your customers, and how important do you think it is for change management to be with project management and to be separate from project management?
I think we are like a project management and change management are a married couple in aspects of working in together with stakeholders, but very differently treated when it comes to how process, technology, and people need to be treated, separately. In my view, change management and project management are like the strong foundations of a house. They're like the two strengths of pillars which will hold the ground for your process and technology to carve that stone for any company to go through an efficiency upliftment. But at the same time, they should work hand in hand, phase by phase, making sure that their goals are aligned to our goals. So this is a fantastic thing that I always tell this to my customers, that you're worried about this, that if my blueprint is not signed, then my build doesn't start. If my build is not starting, then my testing won't happen. It's the same journey for change management, right? If you don't know what are the challenges of your people, you cannot understand them. If you cannot understand them, you can't make them understand about the different benefits. If they don't understand the benefits, you can't train them. And all of this is a sequential format with change with project management. This means that this is a marriage made in such a contractual way that it works hand in hand, but at the same time works independently, keeping in focus what is required for any project. In my preview, project management efficiently take cares of managing the overall life cycle, whereas change management dwells into handling the life cycle of an entire user journey, which is going to help build that strong confidence of the leadership that they're ready for this change. Sudeshna.
Okay. So now, while offering to your customers, how do you think, I mean, do you see the leaders there? How do you see their awareness of these two disciplines? Because erstwhile, when you maybe when you as a consulting practice, we used to go to offer the change management and project management never was very treated as maybe given in a bundle or not there. It was not very explicitly mentioned. But now, do you see the awareness or maturity in the leaders when they are asking the services from you guys?
2 years back, change management sat like an accessory, which was good to have. That hey, we do have that on the platter, but at the same time, it sat as an independent sort of area where a lot of customers saw this more from a communications and training standpoint. But now the need and the maturity of the market is so much that they right now assign their goals and their success criteria to change management, which sometimes sits in the project management portfolio, but more and more in the Western side world, Europe, in these sort of markets, we see this, based on my experience in last 2 years, that it sits as a separate area which is evaluated by different customers, which helps us giving a lot of emphasis of how we are together but also independent in our framework. One of the key things that I right now think is very essential for any customer is that how do we manage stakeholders across different levels, not just core users but also end users, managers, supervisors, whatever you want to call them, stakeholders across different levels. How do you assess their readiness both by business and by role? These two aspects are so important for leaders today because they want the right people to understand the right messaging. And by right messaging, I mean that what is that business readiness and that role readiness coming their way, Sudeshna.
Cool. So I think from since you have so much experience, it would be great to know one example if you can kind of show how you had used a structured method of managing change. Then it would give
So,
the
yeah.
people a good perspective of the best practices. Yeah.
Yes. I'd like to not call this as a best practice, but I'd like to call this years of knowing some of the vast lessons learned and applying it as your way to, carve out your way for change management.
Mhm.
There is no one size fit methodology or a framework that you can fit in into any customer preview. But to take one example, um, we have had a long lasting and a very nice journey with a life science company here in the US who went through their end to end supply chain transformation journey, starting from planning to their warehousing. We were a part of it. We've been their partners in this entire journey. And the way we started off was to give them knowledge about that, is your organization ready? Are the right skill sets there for you or not? Do you have the right stakeholders involved in your project or not? And that gave us a checkpoint that, hey, if I don't have these boxes ticked off, do I have the right roadmap or not? um, the right more roadmap can give you a very good executional plan, but again, it will not help you validate the same thing that people want to hear. So that's why we went ahead and did a stakeholder management plan for them, making sure that it's more validated from their people culturally rather than as a best practice recommended by us. So we went ahead and did that. And then one of the key learnings in that project, Sudeshna, in my preview was this, that we not just did role mapping for them, but we also went deep dive in giving them day in a life, that what would be your daily, weekly to monthly task, which means that if tomorrow I'm supposed to be doing the job on a new system, I exactly know what would be my task from daily to monthly level, which in my preview is a very important thing for a planner, for a plan to have a kickstart on that journey. Next, we backed it up with training and communications. And when I say training and communications, we went ahead and did not just their usual communications via emails, but we did road shows, virtual hours. We also did bunch of activities like playback sessions, need to know sessions, a lot of conversations which gave them a perspective of why this change is really important for them. One of the key things that I've realized before COVID and after COVID is this, that knowledge is in abundance, and how quickly you can tweak it in a short format is what is your true efficiency in today's time. If I want to read something which is a 40-page document versus a 40-second video, what will I choose? Something which will help me learning at a more faster pace. So we developed these modules that help them got into that learning journey instead of sitting in a classroom. So, as I said, we came forward with the framework. We came with the best of practices. We came with best of practices, but at the same time, we gave them also a preview of our learnings from the past customers, and that's why we were able to make them a tailored plan specific to their industry, applying to their domain, which was planning, and got this implementation into 14 months. We saw an adoption going as early as 6 months into their journey, which helped them doing efficiency and process level efficiency at a faster pace. And that was the first project that we did, and then we several did projects with them. Up for discussion on probably some other day on what other projects we did, but this was one of the key projects that we did for this company in the US. And in my preview, the biggest learning that I've had from every technological project delivered, be it in US, Europe, or Asia, is this, that at the end of the day, the true testimony of any change is your people, how quickly they will respond, react, and adopt to change is going to give you results. And if I am a leader today, my main discipline is this, that how do I reduce the workload of my people on manual tasks? How do I prove out that I'm doing the right savings? And how do I cross skill and upscale people? And for that three reasons, I need to make sure that I'm continuously making improvements and making sure that my people are adopting to it. Sudeshna.
Okay, you are truly becoming a champion of change management, no doubt about it, Raveena. And you, so so I would like it was great. I mean, and your passion comes through. Meaning, since you've done it, you've seen the results. It's the proof of the pudding is always in eating. So if I do this, this works, right? And the results, as you should said correctly, I mean, I can't put it in a better way, that you can see the results, provided your adoption is there and the people are making the shift, and you do everything in your power to make that shift happen in the most smooth manner. As a leader, you have to make that easy. So what do you give as an advice? Now I can, safely call you change management champion. So how are you giving an advice to your fellow practitioners or leaders, change leaders for our community? As we know, change management is here to stay, and we are moving slowly to a concept in ProSci also as of change success. So we are no longer calling it management. It is a way to be successful in change management, as we are saying. So, what do you think the future holds for change management, and how we should be prepared for it?
Yes. So, for everyone who is already a part of this journey, be it leadership, people practitioners, people who are watching this video, first of all, thank you for being here to building this community. Appreciate everyone who's a part in making change management a bigger success. For people who are aspiring or people who are wanting to put their effort in understanding about change management or playing a role indirectly into change management, I can tell you this is the right field for you. Why it is the right field? Because any technology will come and go, any particular change will come and go, but what will stay here is change. And that's what we are doing. We're creating an impact every day. And that's why I'm so passionate. And I always tell people who I hire, people who work along with me, people who are my customers, people who are my fellow leaders, I tell only one thing. At the end of the day, it's all about people. You want your people to do the righteous job, you have to help them in that journey. You want to make sure that your best of leadership capabilities come around. You have to make sure that people in your room support your ideas. And for that reason, I feel uh, the key advice is to innovate every day and follow your passion, Sudeshna. So thank you so much for having me here, Sudeshna.
Thank you, Raveena. Anybody from the community, if you have any specific questions for Raveena, please do send it to us. We'll make sure that Raveena, in some fan manner, can answer those specific questions for you. Otherwise, keep watching this space and we would come up with more industry talks. Thank you, Raveena. This was really a very engaging conversation with you on change management.
Thank you so much, Sudeshna, for this opportunity. I
Thank
appreciate
you.
it.